We have heard from the esteemed panelists and experts today on various financial sectorial opportunities, challenges, achievements, and predictions. But this keynote shall shed the light on excellences that Bangladesh can achieve. We now welcome you all to our last but not the least keynote, Branding Bangladesh. To pace with the surge of the economy, it is imperative to diversify the country's export destinations and encourage investments. This requires effective branding of Bangladesh globally to create a niche for itself in the world market. A healthy and planned financial sector shall attract local and international communities' cooperation in the fields of trade and investment. May I now take the pleasure in inviting our closing keynote, Ms. Nuzhat Anwar, the Senior Country Officer, Bangladesh of International Finance Corporation, IFC, World Bank. Though she is responsible for business development, government relations, and market intelligence, and integrality due diligence through implementation of the IFC Bangladesh strategy, she carries along a formidable banking experience in Citibank NA and as a member of management committee and co-chairperson to the Women's Network Committee. I present you Ms. Nuzhat Anwar. Please start the EV, please.
Good afternoon. I hope you had a great day, and I'm sure everybody's tired. So I'm not going to take much of time, so you should be happy about it. First, truth to be told, I'm not a brand specialist, so the introduction of brand to me was when I joined at my first job in Citi. So at that time, when I have joined my first job after 1 year of my batch, and I was very proud that I've grabbed a job at Citi. So when I used to tell people I'm with Citi, the first question was which Citi? Citi Corporation or the Citibank? That was the first question. So all my pride used to go down. That was the struggle I had, and that was actually the first introduction of the brand value to me. Before that, we knew about brand, but how the value works, that was introduced to me with my first job. And then later, the then CEO came in and did a huge effort, Mamun Rashid, of getting at least to a decent platform where I used to tell that I'm from Citi and people used to recognize. So that's how my brand introduction is, brand value introduction. And then, I joined World Bank Group, IFC. So on that job, I thought, okay, now I'm done. World Bank, who doesn't know? So we had our last iftar with our stakeholders and clients. So the Maulana Sahib came, and that's the culture we have to do. So he came and he gave his all his prayers for about 5 minutes. He prayed for IFIC Bank for all 5 minutes. So that's it. So that's my brand. That goes my pride again. So coming back to, kind of serious things, on my job for last couple, 15, 20 years that I have worked, I always had to face the branding Bangladesh thing. A lot of you, seniors are also sitting here. Whenever we work on any MNCs, we know that at credit strategy, country strategy, with managers, with investors, we need to kind of, brand Bangladesh at the beginning of every sessions we have with them. So that's how, I got to get interested on it. So coming back to, on a serious note, on what we are going to talk about today, and I promise I'm not going to take time. So how this nation came out. In 20th century, we have seen that the empires have started kind of breaking up and building nations. Like Habsburg, they got into different pieces, British Empire, Ottoman Empire. Then the French did same, Spanish, which started early, in late 18th century. That also came at end on 20th. So, and then, Belgian, Dutch, and lately Portuguese, and lately we have seen the Soviet. In 1919, it was about 69 nations. By 1949, it came to 95, and 2011 until date is 195. So you could see it has not stopped, and it's not going to be stopped, right? So nations will, come up. And then we have this globalization. Essentially, in globalization in principle theory, there should be no competition between nations, right? So we are not supposed to have competition between citizens, regions, nations, but technically, it's not that. Globalization means less of nations, but if you see in reality, it's not. It's more competition. It's more and more competition. Every nation is competing with the other nation. It's all about how I'm going to the world and telling them what I am, what I'm worth of. Please look at me. I am here. So that's what globalization is giving us. So the Simon Anhold, the Brand America author, said that perception in the age of globalization has become more important than reality. Every government needs to be brand manager as much as policymaker. So it's important. And globalization is every nation is competing with every other nation. So here goes the globalization. All complication, but end of the day, we remain what we were. It's competition. This is, there are brands, very strong brand countries. France, if it comes to your mind, what does it come? Eiffel Tower, wine, food, painters. Italy, you think about Colosseum, pasta, fashion, Michelangelo, fun, food. Germany, you think about engineering, getting it right, efficiency. America, Hollywood, McDonald's, Wall Street, Apple, overwhelming things. Latest, Dubai, powerful brand. Singapore, it's an amazing story. Transformed into a transport hub. What was it a couple of years ago? A dockyard. Decaying dockyard. But they have found the niche where they wanted their name, and they just got it. India and China is coming up as well, with their own brands. How about South Korea? We know Samsung, we know Kia, we know Hyundai. We don't know much about South Korea. It's probably one of the rare nations where the brands are leading the nation, not nation is leading the brand. India, we know them for Mahatma Gandhi, Taj Mahal, but they are changing. They want to be yoga country, and they have made UN to declare a day, 21st June, as an International Yoga Day. Look at PM, how he's branding his country. So they are on the change. Vacation, these countries, they have done it. Anybody we want to go on vacation, globally, these 4 countries, it's always on their mind. Now come to Bangladesh. Before we go to Bangladesh. Nation branding is not a logo. It's not. You'd see a lot of countries without any logo. Great brands, country brands, nation brands, France, Japan, they don't have any logo. It's an emotional perception you have when you name a country. Why do you need a brand? It's extremely important you create your own brand. If you don't, of your nations, others will. And I'm sure that's not going to be great. So you need to have your own before other creates for you. In Bangladesh, what we are what comes to people's mind. And when we say Bangladesh, I'm not, I mean Bangladeshis, I mean more on other nationals. 21 February, language movement, Mukti Juddho, pride, sacrifices, victory, flood, steel. Trust me, when we are traveling to new countries and people start talk about Bangladesh with flood, steel. How many people remember a flood in India in 2005 killed 1,000 people? Nobody remembers. How many people remembers Mumbai every year gets stalled for a couple of days for heavy rainfall? We remember their movies fondly, Bollywood movies, all the stars. We never remember the rainfall. And how do we perceive now globally? Most of the people, after all this emotional values that we have, remembers us as made in Bangladesh. And made in Bangladesh is a great brand, not bad. It's a great brand we have. But we need to also think way forward on that. And made in Bangladesh till now is more on garments. But we have so much opportunities over here. What are the things that are coming out? According to the World Bank survey and also a JICA survey, the next couple of industries that we should be looking for is, among a lot, probably the top 5 would be pharma, leather, plastics, and surprisingly, it was a surprise to me, a colleague of mine came in a couple of years back and said that he wants to buy a bicycle from Bangladesh. And I said, why? Why would you want to buy a cycle, buy here and take out? And he said, you don't know. He's an European. So he said, we are the 3rd largest exporter in Europe on bicycle. And we have about 11% of market share over there. That was a news to me. I didn't know that. So it's people coming outside and telling us our story. And according to the studies, ICT is also one of the sectors that there we can look at as our prospective industry on RMG, except RMG. So this is a model. It's not invented by me. It's a Bloom consultant. This model is used by a lot of nations. This is basically a way to think how the branding can work. I'll try to relate it with Bangladesh more. So the center is the country. I think it's more the central idea for a country's emotion. To give you an example, think about New Zealand. When New Zealand comes, it's purity that we think of. And their all activity and policies move around that. Think about Spain. It comes as fun. And that's perfect for tourism. Football, bullfight, food, late nights, night life, and all that. But maybe for investors to have this, they would say, what do you give me if you have all this fun? So there could be multiple core idea in a country. And it essentially have 2 parts of it. One is transactional, which is the export and investment and tourism. And the other 2 is non-transactional, which is diplomatic relationship and the talents. So it has 2 ways to think how you want to brand your country. So for us, as we know in our core in a country, we can think of the things that we have achieved or our emotion. I'm so sure that all of us will agree, from a rickshaw puller Bangladeshi to a CEO Bangladeshi, each and every person is extremely resilient here. Isn't it a great thing in us? Resilience is a great story. All things, yes, we are not the most friendly climate country. We have our political issues. We have our financial system issues. But end of the day, we are an extremely resilient nation who overcomes everything. I think end of the day, that matters. We overcome. We win. We have to identify those. It doesn't need to be resilience. It's just what I think. But there could be so many more. So we have to really identify first what emotion, what exactly will click and make a wow on people's perception. Because it is nothing but in perception. Because nation's branding is not equivalent to a brand like Apple. It's a bit different. So, if I think of traveling, if I want to go to, any of us want to go to Israel or Palestine, I don't think so any of us will agree. Why? Because of the safety concern. But let me give you a data. According to the World Bank data, so there are about 750 killed every year on the conflict of Israel and Palestine. But there are 33,000 killed in US on firearms. Having that, only that data, I would definitely not go to US, right? But you would, that's perception. It's a great way to portray yourself. We have security issues, we have threats, but how we manage that and how we communicate that to the rest of the world, I think that's more important. So we have great story. We have great story of Bangladesh. And we know that economically we are doing great. I don't need to repeat. I think whole day we have talked about it in various panels. We have our emotional things are also there. And then we have the right attitude on all the possible economic growth and the financial growth and the social growth we have. We have often been highlighted for our population, but density could be a dividend. Our average age is about 26, and we will have that till 2050. This is our prime time. And after that, we'll start falling on the age. So we have a nation with 16 more, so many of people with an average age of 20. I don't know how many countries have this. I think we have not communicated it to the rest of the world, that there is a huge, talented entrepreneur, people are here. How do we want to use it? That's more important. So branding is, to me, only talking about the strengths that we have and not talk about the weaknesses. That is not to be discussed on branding. We accepted that we have some weaknesses. We will work on it, but that's not for the rest of the world to know. And also, it is important that we don't need to target 194 nations in the whole world as a first step. We need to be focused. We need to have a focused countries, 15 countries who are important to us, or they are important to us, or we are important to them. Could be on any dimension. Could be for political reason, commercial reason, and blah, blah. So we have to identify first, probably a limited nations where we have to make our branding. This is my favorite part. We have a great aspiration in Bangladesh. And being part of World Bank Group, I love this. The first part, the aspiration. This is a great, great plan that we have. How do we achieve that? We need to go beyond what we already have. And if you see the barriers I have highlighted, first is perception. That we have talked about till now. It's business environment. We are ranked 176, below Afghanistan. It hurts me. It hurts me when I sit in the World Bank Group meeting and I am below Afghanistan. And it's only because we need some tweaks on our certain regulations which nobody has paid attention till now. Hopefully, we'll see some progress going forward. And we have invested so much on zones. We want the investors to be here. We are expecting the foreign direct investment to come in. It's about 3.6 billion now, but that's sole contribution of Arcades by selling 1.7. So it's really very tiny in Bangladesh. So FDI regulation environment is extremely important if we want to achieve, because no revenue only, World Bank, ADB, JICA giving money together, bilateral fund will not be able to fund this aspiration. No way. Bangladesh is the highest IDA country, which is World Bank's #1 bank. IFC, the portfolio is about $1.5 billion in Bangladesh. We are the 5th largest. We want to do more, but that's not enough for Bangladesh if we have that aspiration. So how would that fund come? We need the proper environment, the business environment. And then infrastructure, we'll all know about it, so I'm not going to get into details, but I really do appreciate the zone initiative that the government has taken, which will help to bring in more diversification on the investments. And then we have financial ecosystem. Bank is still the leading financial system in Bangladesh. We need beyond banks. We need the capital market, we need the other source of investors in Bangladesh, and we need to see beyond our closed regulatory regime. I fully agree we need to be extremely cautious. Bangladesh need to be when they let the FDI come in. We have seen, the Asian crisis when you don't have the proper regulation, what goes wrong, but we should take lessons. I really, like what Raja said, we also need to talk about the failures. So if we have seen failures opening up the economy, let's get the, lesson out of it, but do not close the door, right? So we are doing so much on FDIs, so let's just open up more regulation and have a dialogue. What else can be done? And last, not the least, my favorite, governance. I think we already have spent a lot of time on that. So I will not put any more emphasis on that. Governance is the most issue in Bangladesh. So in every aspect that we can think of. This is my last slide, so I promised you I won't be long. So this is what it is that it's a very interesting thing, and I keep this slide on to my desk just to remember that there is hope. Why I call it hope, somebody, I have seen some of the people using it on a negative way, but I use it in a very positive way, is that Bangladesh is now the 43rd nation, according to the World Bank 2018 data, and I hope it would be around 39th with the 19th, but it's not official yet. So the per capita in 1975 for Bangladesh was 210. For South Korea was $650 US dollar, and for China it was 200. So China was below us. Today, Bangladesh is at 1909, so it's about 1900 USD. South Korea is 30,600 USD. We started off almost together on the same bracket. And China is about 9,500. So it's a hope for us. And it's definitely a hope for us. If they can make it, and we, at one point of time, if we are thinking of diversifying our products on export, we should be there. It's all about how we are going to let others perceive us. Let's work on that. So to conclude, first thing is being on the map. When we say being on the map, it's not physical, it's mental. How we are putting our map mentally to the others, rest of the world. And how we do that, I don't know. We need to work on it. I really don't have an answer. We have to have a strategy that encompasses all things, and we have to believe on what we do on that strategy. And accordingly, we need to have the policies. Without that, this will not work. We know the movements of Bangladesh. If movement is branded, then definitely Bangladesh is going to be branded. It's all about perception. And I'm so sure that we are going to make a great perception of Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful speech, definitely. I would like to request Mr. Najmush Ahmed, founder and CEO of Lighthouse Bangladesh, to come over to hand crest to Ms. Nuzhat Anwar.